This is the Practical Homeopathy Podcast, episode number 134.
Hi, I'm Joette Calabrese, and I welcome you to our healthcare movement, yours, mine, and the countless men and women across the globe who have retaken control of their family's health with practical homeopathy. So, for the next few minutes, let's link our arms as I demystify homeopathy, what was once considered an esoteric paradigm, into an understandable, reproducible, safe, and effective healthcare solution available to all. This is the medicine you've been searching for, my unique brand of homeopathy, practical homeopathy.
I'm Kate, and I want to welcome you to the podcast. We're so glad that you're here today. I want to thank you for taking the initiative to learn about homeopathy because it's going to have a big impact on your life if you learn about it and you use it. So if you're new here, just jump right in. We want to welcome you, and we're going to get started. Today, I have a special guest. Her name is Beth. She's joining me. And I met Beth through studying homeopathy, believe it or not. That's where I met all my closest friends, honestly, that I have now. Beth and I are dear friends, and I'm so thankful for her. And I can't wait for you to get to know her a little more. You may have listened and heard her on podcast 116 called Moms with Moxie, a close-knit study group. And she'll explain a little bit more about that study group as we talk. But for now, I want to welcome Beth to the podcast.
Hey, Kate, how are you?
Good. It's so fun to be with you here today. I want our listeners to get to know you a little bit. I know if they've listened to podcast 116, they may have heard from you. But for those who didn't listen to that podcast, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, Kate. So basically, I have been studying homeopathy for about 10 years. I started off as my daughter was a client of Joette's, and then my whole family, and then I started studying it and teaching it, and I have a group that's just awesome, as you mentioned. And then I worked with you guys for a little while, and now I'm in the academy. So it's just awesome.
We probably started using homeopathy about the same time. I think you were in the Gateway 2 study group that I was leading, and that's how we first met. And
yes,
we've been talking ever since then.
Exactly.
So you live in Florida, and I get to see you, and I come down there a couple times a year at least, which is super fun. I love your family and your dogs. They're great. I've adopted them. Or maybe they've adopted me.
Yeah.
So I know you have a lot to talk about. Today you have many things that you've used homeopathy for in those last 10 years. Just kind of give us a rundown about all the different things that you've used homeopathy for with your family, your friends, clients, and so forth.
Okay, so how long do we have? Okay, so I kind of broke it down a little, like some of the acutes and then some of the more chronic things. So with like friends and family, we've done everything from allergies, colds, flu, bites, injuries, stress, burns, stress from like studying and things, loss. And then more on like the chronic side, we've addressed things from like UC, which is ulcerative colitis, to diverticulitis, to allergies, like food allergies, as well as animal allergies, back issues, torn ligaments, diabetes. I mean, it goes on and on.
Yeah, I think when we were talking earlier, you mentioned other things too, hernias and blood clots and anaphylaxis.
Yes, that's right. We did. I've done anaphylaxis. That's been amazing. And then friends, even more, like asthma, vertigo, UTI. I've dealt with Alzheimer's with some family and aging. And then I also had a practice for a little while, and everything from miscarriages to pregnancies to gout, eczema, teeth issues. Yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's many more you haven't written down because on a day-to-day basis, we encounter many things in our families and our friends' lives. And I know whenever we get together, Beth, we always just talk about homeopathy and all of the different remedies and books and what we're learning. And it's very fun to have others that you can talk to about this. So tell us a little bit more about your study group for those who didn't listen to the other podcast and what you've been doing over the years.
It's an amazing group. It's just, we've been together. It started maybe about 7 years ago, and then it's kind of organically changed as needed, but we're online. We do Zoom, and we started off every Tuesday, and now we're every other Tuesday. It kind of just changes depending on what we're doing. Started off with me just teaching everyone Gateway and getting us kind of all on the same page. And then we've gone into other classes. We did Joette's Materia Medica through her live. So we've gone through the Facebook lives, and especially during the C time, we did all the Materia Medica. So we all bought her Materia Medica, Joette's. And then we went through the lives, and it was great to connect the dots between what was in the book and then her expanding on them. So we did that. We've done Good Gut, Bad Gut. We're about to do feminopathy. We're going to start that in January. So,
and right now you're going through some more Facebook Lives together. And I think that's an interesting way to study together because there's so much free information that you can go through together in addition to the courses. So that's a great idea that you guys are listening to Joette's Facebook Lives and then talking about those in your study groups. That's great.
Yeah, it works really well. We're like behind, so we pick 2 or 3, and then the group is just amazing now, even where I don't have to teach everything. I haven't had to the last couple of years. Everybody takes turns. So they listen, and then, they talk about it, and we all give input, and it's just amazing. It works really, really well. So yeah, it's just an amazing group of women. And it started off just some of my friends from homeschooling, and then their friends, and then maybe some of my friends. And so that's a really nice group of people.
And I know that you've gone through what we're calling the kids course, but the full name is The Ultimate Cool Kids Guide to Homeopathy. Tell us a little bit about that and why you went through it and how you did it.
So right when that first came out, I was so excited. I was like, I love working with kids. I homeschooled my kids. I taught 2nd grade in homeschooling, and I offered a few friends that I would teach it if their kids would be interested. And the kids were just so great. And, they pick up so quickly on information. In fact, recently there was an event and there was a picture. So this was, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago that I did it, right? When did it come out? I don't remember. Anyway, there was an event and there was a picture and there's all these desserts. And one of the young girls, she's now in high school, that took the class with me was like, oh, they're going to need Nux Vomica. Like, they remember, it's amazing. So.
Oh, that's neat. I was actually looking at some of the videos from the kids course the other day, and I was reminded how interactive that is with the videos and sound effects. And I think it's very engaging. What are your thoughts? And I think an adult would gain information from that as well.
Absolutely. I think it's a really great class for anyone. And it's fun. The kids class is fun. Not that your other classes aren't fun, but.
So let's get into some specifics on some of the things that you mentioned earlier. Pick out a couple of things and just talk to us about how you handled a couple of those conditions that you mentioned earlier.
So maybe a big thing that people will deal with is allergies. And that can be like a lot of different things. It can be just like a basic allergy that something's in the air and you start sneezing, all the way to like having digestive problems or even going to anaphylaxis, right? And so with the acute, I love the Boiron Allergy Calm. I think that's what it's still called. Anyway, that combination is really great for just those like quick acute when you're around someone and they're sneezing a lot and you can tell they're struggling. And people are more likely to take something that's in a package, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. So I do use that for like acutes. I also carry around, some other remedies like Apis if I really need it. And I've also used the protocols from the Good Gut, Bad Gut class on food allergies and food intolerances. So I have one son who really had issues with dairy, and I was able to address that. And now he's fine. I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, for years and years, he couldn't. And then even myself, I had like terrible gluten allergies. And I did a couple of other things, trying to get over it before I knew about homeopathy. But homeopathy was what finally got rid of that. I have no symptoms anymore, which is amazing. It does take time, but it's totally worth it because then it's gone. Also, my husband was allergic to cats, and we were able to treat that. And we had people here that I didn't know they had cats. And a few years ago, my husband would have really struggled with that. But
You mean they
He
came
didn't-
over with their cats?
No, just coming over with like the dander on their clothes would have
okay.
set him off.
Okay.
Like I used to ask people like, I'm sorry, do you have cats? Because if you do, I can't have you sit on the furniture. I would really have to be really careful. And now, like, I didn't even think about asking because he doesn't react anymore. So that was really amazing. And then I had an anaphylactic reaction. I was at a restaurant. I was eating a lot of stuff, so I don't know what it was, but but something set me off. So I knew what I needed for I like carried that around because I had previous anaphylaxis. I was allergic to bees and venomous insects, which I am not anymore, which is just amazing. So I treated that with protocols. And then I had this anaphylactic reaction to some sort of food. But thankfully, I had, the remedies with me and I was able to take them. And I did exactly what Joette recommends. There happened to be like a walk-in, ER place just around the bend. So I drove over there and I sat in the car and I took the remedies and I never had to go in. And it was just amazing because I have been in the hospital for that. And it takes weeks and weeks and weeks to get over those drugs that they give you.
Yeah. And that information is covered, I know, in Gateway 2 and also the allergic course. And I'm sure there are other courses that it's mentioned as well. Oh, of course, Survivalist. So if you're interested in that's something that your family struggles with, you can learn that information in those places. So what else, Beth?
Stomach pain, diverticulitis, those kind of things that aren't necessarily their shorter term. And we wouldn't do like a chronic allergy treatment with, but I've had really great success with those too.
I know someone in your family dealt with hernias, and that's a pretty major thing that people usually are recommended to get surgery for. And you've had some success with the homeopathic remedies, which, by the way, is it something that your family struggles with or someone who does? There's a blog called Update Hernias and Homeopathy. There's one previous to that called Get Back in the Game, Hernias and Homeopathy. So if you go to JoetteCalabrese.com, that's JoetteCalabrese.com, and you type in the top right search box, just search hernia. Those blogs will pop right up for you. So can you tell us about your experience with using the remedies for that?
Yeah, we used the remedies and we did some red light because, we like to try to be healthy in general, right? And red light has been shown to be good too. So the combination of doing, the natural modality of the red light as well as the homeopathy worked amazing. And it was very quick. And where we were getting the red light, they were like, normally the red light helps, right? But it doesn't get you there. You still have to get surgery. So I believe, obviously, that the homeopathy was the other thing that we did instead of doing, a medical procedure.
Since we talked about that recently because I knew someone who had a hernia, and I mentioned it to some other people who've also dealt with that, and they've actually just used homeopathy alone. And it's reversed it, which is incredible. You go to the doctor's office and they say, it's not, you can't reverse this. But it has been, and your family is proof of that. So pretty incredible.
Yes, definitely. Something else is we live in Florida and it's hot. And I've dealt with heat stroke with homeopathy, and that's been amazing. when we were with groups of kids for for homeschooling, and we would go to the beach and, the kids are running around and they don't want to stop and they don't want to drink anything. And you have kids that get heat stroke. And before homeopathy, there were a few times where people had to go to the hospital. But once we knew homeopathy, or I knew homeopathy, I was able to offer it and make suggestions. And it was amazing because it just works so quickly and they didn't have to. And then, it's always funny because then people question, well, maybe it really wasn't. I'm like, no, definitely was.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. But it worked really amazing. I have a little bag that has all the remedies that can be used for heat stroke together. And I carry that when I go to the beach. So,
yeah, along with probably the remedies for stings from things that are in the ocean, perhaps, right?
Yes. Yeah, as you get more comfortable with homeopathy and you understand it more, that's what I've ended up doing is I kind of make my own kits for things. So like when my son was going on a mission trip to Hawaii and I put together like a kit, I looked up where he was going, what are the what are the bugs and different things that are there, and thinking about, okay, he's going to be in a really hot setting, he's going to be working outside. What kind of remedies is he probably going to need? Traveling remedies, right? Injury remedies. And I put together like a whole kit just for him to take with him. I also do that when they go off to college, Of course, that's really hard because they could run into a lot of different things. But the first year, I really sent a lot of stuff. The second year, I got better at it. But that's something that I like to do. You can be more specific. Like I know what my son is more likely to deal with, right? And my daughter's going to deal with, or my husband, like he's going to have more indigestion. My daughter's going to be more exhausted. My son's going to, maybe have a little stomach thing. So you can gear your kits towards that, which is fun.
Do you send them with any instructions or do they just contact you when they are not feeling well and you point them in the right direction?
It's kind of a combination because I've been doing it so long that they all understand like on a basic level homeopathy. So, but they usually call me. I create a little spreadsheet and I print it up that has little suggestions for what to take with what. And so they can look it up and just take it. But they do generally contact me, just to make sure they're taking the right thing.
Yeah.
Because like there's the cold and flu kit that I send them with that I put together. But they're not going to take all of that, right? So they'll call and ask, or text.
Yeah. Right. As kids do these days, most often text. Yeah. A phone call is rare. Well, not for you. Your children call you more than most, I think. You get to stay in touch.
I do.
Let's transition to talking about the academy because I know some people like to know what is it like and what kinds of things do you learn? And so you're about a third of the way through the Academy of Practical Homeopathy year. Tell us what it's like.
It's great. It's a lot of work. No, it's really good. I really enjoy it. I worked with you guys when we were first putting it together and the beginning of it. I wasn't involved in that much of it, but being on the other side is so interesting. It's a really good program. It's really well put together and it covers a lot of different things that some people might not have thought of as important, but they definitely are. And I can see how it all works together. I'm not a history person. I'm just not. But I am actually enjoying the history. And I sent that to Joette the one time. I was like, thank you, because, I really would not have looked into that at all. But it really is good. And it really does connect some of the things that we're also learning, right? So,
well, good. What I'd like to finish up with today is I'd like to get your thoughts on some things that people can do to learn more about homeopathy, or what tips or ideas do you have for people who are learning?
Just keep going along, like start wherever you can. Like if you don't want to buy classes, that's okay. Joette has a lot of information online. And just keep listening to it and learning about it and reading about it and listening to it. And it'll be amazing what you pick up. And then I think following what she recommends really does work. And that's where, when I kind of had to practice there for a little while, well, I did, but following what she like specifically said, like get the timeline and understand what's happening over time with them is good to be able to see, have them pick out the main things that they want to work on. And you really can see it work backwards on the timeline. And it just like encourages you to keep learning more and doing more. So watching people get healthy and be able to function in life better is just there. It's priceless. It really is.
I liked the idea that you had where you told me that as you were learning more about the different homeopathic medicines, that you take notes. And I know you do that in a couple of different ways. Maybe you can share a couple of ideas for people who are wanting to study this.
Yeah. So I think anything that you want to learn more about, the first thing is knowing what your learning style is. Like one of my sons is definitely an auditory learner. If he just listens to it, he learns it. Where for me, I need to take notes, and that's how I remember it. But then also, I want to have good information that I can use later. So when I do the Materia Medica class for the academy, I take notes on what she says. I also check her Materia Medica, Joette's, and I write little notes in there. And then I also make the Materia Medica cards that come with the academy. So I'm basically creating my own Materia Medica written in my own words. And I think that will be really cool for me after we're done when I'm searching for information to help people.
You also make spreadsheets sometimes as well.
Yeah.
So but for those of you listening, Beth is amazing with her notes. She is incredible. So she knows where to find anything you need to know.
Yes. Yes, I'm doing a spreadsheet on all of the protocols and more so that as I'm going through, I'm creating that so I can really easily search. Like I had a friend stop by yesterday. She needed some remedies and we were talking and I'm like, let me just look and see what else we have. And I can just search on a word and I can find all kinds of information. So I like to do that. I also make little cards with PowerPoint that are the protocols. And then I have the protocols saved as little recipe cards like Joette started with on her website.
Oh my goodness. You do even more than I knew about.
Yes.
Wow. So do you do the spreadsheets in Excel?
I do. I use Excel and I do the cards in PowerPoint usually.
Beth, thank you so much for sharing all this information. It's a lot, and I'm sure we'll be talking again because you always have so much to talk about. And I know your daughter, we're going to have a podcast where we talk to her because she has her own story about using homeopathy and actually studying it as well. So I look forward to hearing from her, and I want to thank you for sharing this information today.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun.
It's my honor to share many lessons on this simple method of using homeopathy for free without affiliates or advertising here in my podcasts, but also my blog posts and Monday Night Lives. But it's critical that you learn how to use these medicines properly. These podcasts should serve as only the beginning of your training. Peruse joetteslearningcenter.com to find fun study group opportunities and in-depth courses developed by subject. So with the proper training, you can join the thousands of students before you in developing the confidence and competence to protect the health of your family and loved ones with my brand of homeopathy, Practical Homeopathy.
You just listened to a podcast from internationally acclaimed homeopath, public speaker, and author, the founder of the Academy of Practical Homeopathy, Joette Calabrese. Joette's podcasts are available on all your favorite podcast apps. To learn more and find out if homeopathy is a good fit for your health strategy, visit practicalhomeopathy.com.